standing here just right after the finals between Neeb and Snoot with the one, the only, the legendary Probe. How's it going, Probe?
Yeah, it's not too bad. Good finals.
Was it a good finals? 4-0 sweep? Was it a good finals?
Protoss winning. It's never bad.
Biased casting right there, isn't it?
Just a bit.
So, this year was a really big year for you, wasn't it? Were you particularly satisfied with the way that things went this year? Or were you, what were your expectations heading into 2017? And did you meet all of your own expectations?
So 2016 WCS for me, I did terrible in it. I went to 2 dream hacks, but obviously they weren't like the WCS events. In the actual challenges, I didn't do very well. So my expectations weren't very high going into 2017. I just wanted to qualify for the North American events because I hadn't been to North America before. I've been to the Europe ones. Mm-hmm. So 2 out of 4 is what I wanted. I qualified for 3 out of 4. Slipped up in one of them. But yeah, I'm happy with how it's done. And when going to the events, I think I've shown good games, made fans, and yeah, pretty happy.
Definitely you've made a lot of fans and a pretty big impact this year, I'd say. So part of this year for you, it feels like there's been a lot of transitionary on maybe the business end, just with teams. You just recently joined, well, maybe not too recently, I guess it was a month ago, maybe at this point, but still pretty recent, still pretty fresh. Talk a little bit about the team transitions that you've gone through just this year alone, and how much impact does that have on your play, if any?
Yeah, so a month ago I joined Legacy Esports. Really good team, supports me heaps. Before that I was on Root as well, or OSC Root, and I mean they were great as well. Both teams, supporting and have supported me. And I think I was really lucky to end up on good teams, not be screwed over by anything, just be able to practice my own game. They help me out whenever, and through Root as well, got a lot of practice and with the other players, just talking to them heaps and gaining a lot of knowledge in that sense as well. So that was really good. And I mean, while I'm the only player on Legacy at the moment, I think that's fine. I'm happy with where I am at the moment.
You're, Legacy Esports is an Australian-based organization. You're obviously Australian yourself. It seems to me that in the past, I guess I'll say 3 years, with kind of the rise of PIG, the ANZ scene has become such a big deal in StarCraft, from whence it came when it was, the forgotten realm almost. As a player and as somebody who is now a huge deal from that scene, what's it been like to kind of witness the rise, I guess, of your own player zone, and what kind of problems are you still dealing with there?
So I'll say one thing: it's ANZ. You got to get that right. We're in Canada, mate.
Oh, I'm Canadian too. I totally borked that.
So yeah, the ANZ region is surprisingly strong and doing really well, I think. I mean, you look, we have obviously two players at every event, and usually we have at least one Australian commentator. Maynard, Pig have been doing the rounds. So yeah, we have a pretty good representation, and all of our viewership on events as well, I think, do quite well. I think people enjoy following our scene a bit. We have a small, tight-knit community, and I think I've done work as well with running my own LANs and whatnot, to help keep that going and provide some more regular content, like LAN-based content. And it's a bit funny, actually. Many years ago, it was ANZ, no one really cared about. We got terrible viewership, but as the hardcore fans of StarCraft have stuck around, it feels like we've only gained more attention in Australia. And I think that's really good to see, and I think it's a great region. I love it, and it's great that other people are experiencing that.
So I want to touch on, you do run your own tournaments, and I want to be careful because I'm friends with some of the North American TOs, but it feels sometimes that the grassroots StarCraft scene in Australia just kicks NA's ass completely. Talk a little bit about organizing your own event, why you did it, what you kind of expected from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there used to be a tournament organizer called ACL. They ran their last LAN in 2015. I actually won it, so So the joke is that I killed it off. But they got bought out by ESL. So ESL, ANZ, Australia, all run all the tournaments and that, and they do a wonderful job. But they weren't running LANs. They were running all the online stuff, and we didn't have any more LANs, so Pig said, well, I'm going to run my own Pigsty Cups just out of his house, you know?
Yeah.
And they're really good social events. They get 40, 50 people just rocking up to his small apartment. Sick, good event. And then I said, well, I'll try and be a bit more, you know, the competitive side. So I'm like, okay, we'll run a LAN. And this was September last year. Went really well, had good turnout. Then I said, okay, we'll run another one in January. Did that again. Very happy with turnout there. And so then, you know, I didn't run any for a few months, but I was secretly planning the Probe StarCraft League and getting sponsors and whatnot. So we have a 6-month circuit, you know, monthly online events, 3 LANs, and trying to go back to that, you know, the good old ACL days. And I think LANs are really what keeps the community together. And like I always notice that after a LAN, online participation in tournaments is up as well. It gives passion back to the community. Just it gives people a reason to practice. And I mean, while all the like OSC tournaments, they're amazing. They're really good. Like Eddie and OSC do so much work. You really need LANs as well to tie into to make an integrated circuit sort of thing. And they just feed off each other as well. So that's what I wanted to do by running my own LANs. Yeah.
You do have this like really tight relationship with the ANZ scene. You're obviously a player who's like most recently, I guess, broken out from that scene. Who do you peg as the next up-and-comer? Is there a possible person in Australia, ANZ, who could make that big, deep, maybe top 16, top 32 WCS run?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Igaz, Seether, and I are pretty far ahead of most of the community, but there are a whole bunch of players just that tiny step down. So maybe next year we'll see people like Mighty Kiwi who came to this event finally, you know, get top 2. Demilove, Mio Maker, obviously not ANZ, but you know, in our region as well. There's always that possibility, but personally, you know, I'm just going to be very biased here and say I'm the best and going to keep doing that. And I know this is an audio interview, so you can't see me smirking, but yeah.
I cannot confirm there is a smirk.
But yeah, so I hope there is, but I hope I'm also there, so they can have one of the other spots.
Gotcha. There are some pretty big changes for like the whole of the balanced scope of SC2 multiplayer being planned right now. Just really briefly, what are your thoughts on the whole scope of the changes that are being planned, and where do you think it will leave Protoss for you?
Yeah, so I think the mothership core removal, which is the biggest change, is the right move to make. Unfortunately, it's going to destroy Protoss, right? Protoss is going to be garbage. And I mean, what? We're getting the shield battery. Amazing. I mean, there's not enough compensation, right? And a Stalker change. It's not a buff, it's not a nerf, it's a change, right? So Protoss is really going to get screwed, which is not a bad thing. I mean, I think design-wise, the change should happen. And personally, I think we'll have a period of relearning, and if stuff needs to be buffed, and I think they will have to be changed, and you know, maybe the Adept has to be changed, something like that, then I think Protoss will end up in a better state at the end of it. So I'm happy to go through the changes. But it is going to be very difficult. And
do you think these changes might fit your particular playstyle, or do you think that you'll have to really refine your approach again?
Yeah, I don't think it really matters. Playstyle is always ever evolving, and I'm pretty flexible with what I can do. I'm pretty creative as well. So I'm sure I'll find ways to make things work. And you know, personally, maybe we'll have some buffs that sort of a bit underrated for a bit, fly under the radar, and then we'll have a 6 month period where Protoss is super overpowered or something like that, right? So I think it will turn out fine. I'm not too worried.
So to kind of cap things off, you did have a tremendous 2017, and it's looking like the format for 2017 or 2018, excuse me, WCS is going to be the same. That's what Blizzard says. What are your expectations? Even though it's not the end of the year, what do you want to accomplish in 2018?
Yeah, well, I mean, the goal is always to get top 8 and qualify for BlizzCon. So I finished 15th this year, which pretty decent. Bit disappointing in this last tournament, could have pushed me up a bit in the rankings. And I guess some of it as well is, from ANZ, so it's a bit of a welfare region, But yeah, just getting top 8 is the goal.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, dude. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you talking to me. If you had any final words or anything like that, then go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the interview. Just like to shout out to my team, Legacy Esports, and all the fans around the world and back in Australia who stay up all night long watching and cheering me on, sending me support messages on Twitter, whatnot. It's much appreciated.